Next, our moderator, Andriy Dubetsky. Now, for more than 6 years, he's helped the Warsaw Stock Exchange establish bridges. He's built bridges between Ukraine and Poland. Of course, you know what type of bridges I'm talking about here, focusing on capital markets, advisors, business as well. He's also a Bitcoin enthusiast, which brings him here today, the founder of Bitcoin Foundation of Ukraine. And he will this morning lead this panel discussion, as you can see over there. Well, that's gone now, that's the next one. But this panel discussion this morning will center around the era of Bitcoin, and has that era of flat currency, is that ending? So please, put your hands together for Andriy Dubetsky.
Thank you. Guys, please, come to sit down. Well, when the first time I read about Bitcoin, I said to myself, wow, what the cool idea, what the cool technology it is. Good luck, guys, but I'm not interested. But when the crisis happened in Cyprus, I decided to read about Bitcoin once more, but slowly, in details, from economic point of view, from technical, society, my personal, and I said, wow, what a great technology. But this time I understand that this is the thing. It already exists. I can already use it. I can send it. I can buy it. There's some value for me. For us, let's say enthusiasts, early adopters, industry players, Bitcoin technology has a couple unique things. That's something that we think is game-changing and has some value for us. First of all, I'm talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about blockchain technology. It means decentralized distribution of public ledger. I'm talking about openness of the technology, scalability, programmability, and other things. You don't have to ask someone permission to start to use this, to develop it. There is no any owner of the technology. It's a social tool, so please grab it, use it. That's why such a technology could be implemented in variety other things. There is kind of a movement and tries to use it in, let's say, society, governments, decentralized exchange, notary. But this time on this panel, we will talk about Bitcoin as a money. First of all, money is the reason why this technology was created. The creator wanted to solve one problem: make it possible to do financial transaction with no middleman. So I'm pleased to be here. My name is Andrew, and we will talk about Bitcoin and fiat currency. So let's talk, and I'll present our guest. Let's go from you more. You from BitPay, is a payment service provider, Bitcoin company, one of the top and probably the oldest one. You recently even signed the contract with PayPal for strategic cooperation. A couple things about you, about your company, and the first question, do you see we can expect mass adoption for the business soon with Bitcoin, or maybe when, or please?
Sure. If we could rewind a bit and just poll the audience for who's heard about Bitcoin in the audience. We got everybody.
Yeah.
That's really good. And for the rest of you, maybe the simplest explanation we could give what Bitcoin is, and everybody disagrees on how to define it, but essentially a global currency. So there's currency in euro, US dollars, and British pounds. Imagine a currency that works throughout the world and everybody can use it. And that's a powerful idea, and that's a powerful concept. And if this works, we're talking about a global community that really speaks to where we are now with technology, that the internet's connecting everybody anywhere anyways. now we have a currency to enable that. And so what my company does, we help merchants accept Bitcoin. And what that means is we provide the software and solutions for them to accept Bitcoin from the consumers and receive euro or any other currency as the merchant. Question about merchant adoption is just the adoption in general, right?
Yes.
Adoption happens over time.
How many customers do you have right now?
We have 50,000 merchants. We get about 1,000 new merchants a week happening globally, 300 in Europe. But it really tracks how much people know about it and how much people are exposed to it, right?
Yeah.
If in the audience 50% of people understand or know what Bitcoin is, well, it takes some time for people to be educated about what it is, how it's going to assist them, and whether or not they should take it into their lives or use it to pay for things or use it as transactions.
Okay, thank you. By the way, how many wallets from the visitors have? Try it, not just know. Okay, maybe 15%, I know, around this. Okay, next panelist is Jeffrey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Smith. I am the CIO of a Bitcoin cryptocurrency exchange called CEX.io. We are basically allowing everybody to use our exchange to trade US dollars and euros into cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoins and other altcoins. This is our main project that we are working on right now.
Yeah, but from all of us, you're probably the most experienced in the mining, right? You started from the mining business. By the way, who doesn't know, miners are the companies and individuals who are providing the computer power for the maintaining Bitcoin network. So from your experience and your knowledge of mining, it started from some individuals from the video cards and personal computers. What's going on in the mining industry right now? What's your understanding and where will it go? Please.
Yes, initially it started from geeks in basements doing mining on their computers, then on their graphic cards, then on special devices called miners. Afterwards, there was an era, a cloud era, where all the hardware was put into a data center, and everybody could have a piece of this processing power to mine new Bitcoins. Right now, since the price of the Bitcoin is about $350,
yes.
the cost of electricity is getting up, and the difficulty of mining is going down. And we've almost met this equilibrium where the price of the income that you get is equal to of the expenses that you take. And that's why right now mining is profitable only if you have very cheap electricity, cheap maintenance costs, and upkeep in order to get some profit from mining. But mining is essential because it is a way to confirm transaction between two users. So mining will not stop. Mining will be will go to a different flow.
Let's say, do you recommend individuals to join the party, or it's really already is a professional field? You have to really understand and put a lot of money into this business right now.
Like in any business, you need to know everything about it. And if you get all the resources right, if you get cheap electricity, cheap maintenance, you have a good agreement with a data center which provides maintenance and upkeep, then you can try mining.
Okay.
Consumer mining is not very profitable, and the ROI that you will get right now you will be able to get some profit, but I would suggest not to go with it right
Okay. Let's go to Alex. Alex, to be honest with you, he's my hero. First of all, he's a president of the Swiss Pirate Party. He's a huge activist for promoting such a technology for the society. But today I would like to talk about Bitcoin and the money. So you also managing Swiss Bitcoin broker. And please tell something about this business. And what do you think nowadays, Bitcoin? Is there some real alternative to the private banking? Is there some trend in the Swiss as the country where the financial services are the main things? Do you see it?
Yeah. So first a bit what my company does. So we we're the first broker in Switzerland, so exchanging Swiss francs to bitcoins and vice versa. That has been authorized since June, and it was just a couple of days before the federal government issued a report saying, well, Bitcoin looks like a money, looks like a payment means of payment, so that's what it is. And they just said that the actual law applies like for any other currency. So we are official broker, and there are a couple of ones others coming into Switzerland, and so it's quite interesting to see how we start to work, because the normal law applies to us. That means that if we want to manage assets from people, from clients, like if we want to hold accounts, even like something like blockchain is doing, they are holding accounts of the people on their website.
Yeah.
This would require a banking license in Switzerland. And so now we are developing all our activities and around making sure that the client is keeping the control. And basically it's all about control, Bitcoin, and the individual having the control. So basically the challenge now for Switzerland, for the community in Switzerland, is how do you make up services that looks like a banking services. That means you can have a credit card, and you have a card and you can pay things, and you can have all the security around, and you have the
but technology.
But you have all this, but with the feature that the money is still in your control, and if you're not satisfied with us or with the company, you just take your money and go out. Today, if you try to do this with a bank, they will tell you, no, you're not allowed. You can only take this much money. Or
yeah, you mentioned because of technology and allow you to full control. It's really sound like a competitor instrument for the private banking. It's just question of the service. They make it comfortable and usable for the customers. Okay, thank you. Martin is our next guest. He's developing the business in Germany. Wallet exchange. He will tell a little bit about his project, but he's also one of the startups in the Bitcoin community who try to fulfill requirements of the regulations. So the first question to you, do you think this regulation help the business, help the customers, help the industry or not? Please.
Yeah, so in my personal opinion, regulation in the Bitcoin field.
Couple of things about you and your business, and then question.
Yes, so basically, Bitalo, we are developing, also what Alexis said, this kind of super secure trading environment for some integrated service, where people keep control over their money by themselves. So basically, our goal is that even when the website goes completely offline, you always get your money back, and this is a huge advancement to the normal banking system. Because when the bank is bankrupt, the money is gone, no matter what bailout is coming. And with Bitcoin, you have sophisticated methods to guarantee that with, for example, pre-signed transactions, that you always get the money out, and that the site administrators never get any access to the money. But of course, in Germany, I mean, the Germans, they invented bureaucracy. And this is, of course, why we are on the front line of licensing and everything, because in Germany, Bitcoin is a financial instrument. And even when you're just handling around Bitcoins, even when you don't have control, you need to be licensed as soon as any fiat money is getting involved. And I mean, the laws are not really applicable for Bitcoin. So because the laws come, let's say, from a different generation, and they are just now adapted to Bitcoin over time, and it does not really fit. And in the end, also, I don't think that the consumer is getting any benefit from that. On the other hand, of course, it's obviously a huge marketing thing, because most people, of course, they trust very much in regulated businesses, in regulated banks, and because it never made any sense for me. So people use Bitcoin because they don't trust any banks, and then they just send money to some Japanese whatever service provider who doesn't even have any credibility towards anyone. And in that sense, Bitcoin needs still to prove with the right technology and with the right implementation of the technology that you can actually make it so that you don't need this kind of auditing, that you don't need this kind of proof that you have the reserves, because you can really make it very sophisticated, that there's no chance that any user money is basically lost when the technological setup is correct. And in that sense, of course, regulation is important, but it does not really protect the consumers. It's just fulfilling certain criteria for
And we all understand the law for the Bitcoin technology is a code. Mm-hmm. It's implemented in the protocol. You can't go to other direction. So yeah, the same thinking about you, that any regulation, it's just probably marketing or just changing the way how we accept this technology. Okay.
Also from the background, of course, Bitcoin was, let's say, innovation without permission. So it just happened. And now the regulation is chasing after Bitcoin. But the interesting thing is Bitcoin was never meant to be, let's say, part of the financial system. And it's basically just a voluntary agreement between the users who are using it. And I think trying to regulate it will fail completely because the regulation is, as you said correctly, in the protocol.
Yeah, you would like to add something?
Yeah, a couple points on regulation. No, we're in complete agreement. And the purpose of Bitcoin and what it does is to enable people to send money to people. That's the purpose of the whole thing. When you think about what banks should do, it's essentially be able to send money to people, but that's not functionally what they do. You have people all over the world that want to receive money, but are bottlenecked by the banks or however you can transfer money. So if you imagine people getting paid around the world, whether it's small merchants or whether it's big companies, corporate companies, people paying bills anywhere, the bottleneck is always at the terminal where they receive the money. It's always stopped right there where people want to buy goods from somewhere else, people want to send money to people, but they can't. It's just not possible. The tools aren't there. What Bitcoin enables is anybody here, anybody anywhere in the Ukraine, anywhere in the world, to receive money instantly, money that they could use. So that's a very powerful concept because it then means that, think about whatever services people can provide, whether it's the videographer here in the room or the AV people, they can now do AV anywhere, or they can do video shoots anywhere in the world, and people can pay them in their local currency. So that sort of bottlenecked and stopping, and the problems along the way to get paid are not there anymore. But when you initiate some sort of regulation and strong safeguards and blocks to people get the money, and you sort of regulate Bitcoin to hell, or you start putting tax laws, which are important, and you should pay tax, on like the VAT for products, but when you start taxing it over broadly, and when you start enabling the same problems that the banks have to receive money, well, then you don't have to build a good product. You just build the same product again, which is just a stupid way to do technology. You're building something that already exists. We don't want that. We want it to keep, with regulation, maintaining that people aren't using it for bad things, but the ability, essentially, to send money to people.
Yeah, okay, guys, let's, we used already half of our time, and we have other questions, because usually there is a all-day conference connected and discussed about Bitcoin, so yeah, we have to follow the time. Guys, the first question that connected to our panel, and I would like to hear your opinion about that. What do you think? Can crypto replace fiat currency to get mass adoption, or they can successfully coexist? Is there any real competition war, or it could be a friendship real? Who wanna, please?
I'd like to start. Well, first of all, as of right now, I think that crypto will not be able to replace fiat transactions. The technology is not yet ready for mass adoption, and fiat currencies will still exist. And however, crypto can be used as a tool to transfer, as Mo said, and I completely agree. This is a brilliant tool to transfer money from one point to another. And this is a safe way to do it, and all you need to do is understand the concept of Bitcoin and how it works.
Please, Alex.
I think in the future, we already start to see that, but you will have national currencies that will try to move to crypto. So we already have one experience in Canada with the chip.
Yeah, there was a discussion about that.
Canadian dollar chip. And now we have one country in Latin America, I don't remember the name, who banned Bitcoin because they said we're going to build our own crypto. It's going to be interesting how those two are going to work together, because again, Bitcoin has deeply in its roots the fact that it's decentralized, distributed, and you have a consensus method to organize Bitcoin. If you come with a crypto which is from a central bank, it will still have some centralization, and it will fail in terms of technology.
Yeah, but we also know that there is some tries from the community to develop some bridges between fiat currency and cryptocurrency, like protocol, Ripple,
Stellar Network.
Network.
The bridges are super important here. We're talking about mass adoption, and if it's ever going to replace fiat currency, you need bridges. Right now, the technology is really good, but the user interface is crap. So when you try to learn more about Bitcoin and you try to use this software, it just doesn't look good. And so you can't have an inflection point where everybody starts using it until people can see it and it looks good and you can explain it to your grandmother, right? So it's tricky right now to say that is the era. It isn't, and it's not going away. And essentially, if Bitcoin does work, it'll replace a couple % of online transactions where Bitcoin is better than using cash or better than using the banks. It could also have really good use cases for things like paying out loyalties. There's this reward programs that every hotel has, every airline has, and perhaps moving that to a Bitcoin system where people are rewarded in Bitcoin would be a better use than these loyalty points. You think about all the use cases, and you guys were the first people to do the paying out rewards and loyalty stuff with Bitcoin. There's some transactions where you pay for things where cash isn't the best method of paying. That's just the fact of the matter is it's not always useful to use the bank to pay for things. You could just create an internal system or a system where people are paying with one different thing. Oh, every time you go to a hotel, you use a hotel coin. You use something to spend at hotels. You don't, every time you spend a transaction or spend money, it needs to be linked to your bank, then go to the other person's bank and pay fees along the way. That's just a stupid method to pay people. To have so many people involved in one stupid transaction, it doesn't make sense. Or you have a debit card paying for the beer at the bar, it doesn't make sense. Why is my bank involved with paying for the beer? You need something else, some sort of token currency, some smaller currency to pay for things. And so, for bigger things though, and for, let's say, payrolling, invoicing, large supply chain stuff, yeah, you need fiat currency to be able to buy a house. That's a transaction where it makes sense to have a bank involved. You get a bank who's guaranteeing both sides, having a mortgage, having trust, having insurance, buy a house. You can buy it with Bitcoin, but I would recommend buying a house with cash or with banks. But other stuff, the stuff we spend money every day, I mean, it doesn't make sense to always have banks involved. Have something else. Have something better.
Okay, thank you. Martin, would you like
first of all, it's very clear. Bitcoin was never designed to replace fiat currency because it was also meant from this design as some kind of island solution. And because abolishing fiat currency means abolishing government. There's no other way, because that's the whole thing. Fiat currency is created out of debt on the citizens, and that's basically where the whole thing is coming from. And Bitcoin is not directly connected with that, so it's two schemes, and there's no way for that. And also the use case for the future of Bitcoin, what I basically see is mainly in this kind of private transaction business. For example, one example from Berlin, maybe you've heard about this this Airbnb. People can rent out their apartments for Bitcoin, for money. In Berlin, it has now become illegal. But no one cares about it. And so Bitcoin could, for example, also easily help in these kind of transactions where you don't have, let's say, an official business, but you have this kind of Uber where you drive around people and you just take some money. Or you let people sleep at your place, you just take some money. Even because you cannot prevent this, even when it's illegal that private persons stay at your place and you make some kind of business out of it. But in these kind of, let's say, gray business areas, you have several problems. First of all, you don't know whom you can trust, because when you want to invite strangers to your place, you need to have some kind of escrow mechanism. And Bitcoin is the right technology for that, because you can, for example, with multi-signature, easily handle the money in some kind of trusted manner. You don't have to deal around with cash, and also because it's some kind of gray business, you don't want to have any transactions on your bank account. And so in that sense, I think you don't have to replace fiat currency, because that's something completely different, and the goal is to supplement it.
Okay,
and
good.
I think it's growing a lot in this kind of area.
Thank you. You mentioned a couple of good examples how we can use it. Maybe you can point at some disadvantages or things that should be improved in this system. Maybe it's also a good message to the startups and people who would like consider about some business ideas.
Any company that has a startup needs to have a Bitcoin strategy. They need to figure out a way to integrate Bitcoin into their system. And if they touch money, they should also touch Bitcoin. When you talk about like Airbnb and anything, I wouldn't use the word illegal. These are not illegal things. They consider it illegal. Gray area. It's just bullshit. They're not illegal. You're renting out an apartment for money. How is that illegal? Or Uber, these things. But
it's an interesting thing, because in Germany, in particular in Berlin, it's not allowed as a private person to rent out for money your apartment. It's not allowed anymore.
And it's just a stupidity, and it'll be resolved. It'll be resolved by people being smarter than stupid regulation.
People still do it.
Yeah. Use cases are anything that currently exists, you can do it with Bitcoin. Like the use cases for anything. You want to pay for a ticket to the conference, you can pay it with Bitcoin. You want to buy the Wi-Fi here, which is free, thank you for the organizers, but if you had to pay for it, use Bitcoin. Why would you use your bank? It doesn't make sense. Anything you shop for, anytime you spend money, you could use Bitcoin. And especially if you ever want privacy. If you ever want privacy, whether or not you want to, if you're, let's say, a woman in the Middle East that wants to buy driver courses, wants some privacy about that, doesn't want the government to know that she's buying these courses, or you want some privacy about the pharmaceuticals you buy. Let's say you buy some penicillin, or you buy something for your heart, or you buy whatever. The government shouldn't know that. Or maybe you want to buy some books and you don't want your girlfriend to know about it. Whatever it is, there's a certain level of financial privacy that we should have, and the Swiss can talk about it. I think people do have the essential right to keep things. And especially as more banks move towards the sort of mining your data and then selling you products based on what you spend, because they do that in the Netherlands, and they're doing it everywhere. So and I'm quite opposed to people mining my data and selling me stuff based on it, but this stuff, you do have the right to keep what you spend private.
So one of the usage we see a lot, for example, in the e-gaming industry, is that when you have a software solution where people, the users, have a kind of internal currency they need to use, or a transactional system, people are moving to Bitcoin to manage this internal transaction system. It's very easy to integrate Bitcoin in your website. For example, I'm looking at Open Bazaar, which is trendiest, the next trendy marketplace, which is distributed, and they have built in already Bitcoin. They didn't try to integrate other currencies in it. And you can you even have cases where companies, very well-known companies, are trying to look at using Bitcoin or a clone of Bitcoin to use it as an accounting system, because the security is so big, because it's like a token that you move from one place to another, and you cannot have a double spending, that you use this technology so that your accounting system is hard, the security is very strong. So it's all about the transaction system, and about the fact that you have this public ledger, and this is technology that is very powerful. And then, obviously, for the whole industry, IT industry, all this layer of transaction has already been built. What is the real use of the Bitcoin which is going through the blockchain? The system doesn't care. You can use it for buying a good, or you can use it for powering a gaming platform. The blockchain doesn't care. So you have an infrastructure which is already there.
Okay, Jeffrey, I know would like to add something, but I have another question, and we are lack of time. There is also, because of open nature of Bitcoin, it's easily to create any alternative network. There is a huge numbers of altcoins, we call it alternatives cryptocurrency. Share your vision about the role of alternative cryptocurrencies. Do they useful? Do they need? Should people care about it or not?
Okay.
We have a Bitcoin. Why we need something else?
So the first thing is that no one put any monopoly on Bitcoin. So if there's a code, you can just copy this code, paste it to another program, and there you have it, another alternative currency. It's not very hard to produce it. However, the thing that is the most important is the idea behind the currency. It has to have a specific purpose. Unless a currency doesn't have a specific purpose, it is useless, and the price for it is not just backed up by anything. So as of right now, we see some alternative currencies which have specific uses. For example, Dogecoins are doing some kind of a payment system between themselves. Some altcoins are being positioned as a alternative, so if anything goes bad with Bitcoin, they can easily switch. I mean, there are some ideas to altcoins, however, nothing is perfect as of right now, and well, we should stick to Bitcoin.
Okay, yes, please, Mo.
What we're talking about here is the alternative currencies, the copies of Bitcoin. First, I'd like to say we should try to get this one right first. As just a general, let's try to get Bitcoin right. And there are use cases for alternatives, very small uses. Let's see, from the merchant perspective, we help merchants accept Bitcoin. And every person that pays with Bitcoin on their site is a new user. Anybody that pays with an alternative currency that would be just an incremental user would be the same user that already has the currency, the Bitcoin. They'll be using another one. It doesn't add value to them. And what it does is it exposes them to a lot more risk because these alternatives are much more immature, much more small market caps. So to give you a sense, we're talking about currencies like Litecoin, which have a market capitalization of a few million, compared to Bitcoin, which is in the billions. You're talking about access to a much bigger crowd if you accept Bitcoin. And, well, another good thing about Bitcoin is that it's continually being developed. And so any good ideas, like you're saying with Dogecoin, any good ideas that
could
can
be
happen,
easily implemented into Bitcoin.
they're implemented into Bitcoin, and then
yeah, it's kind of open nature of the technology.
make the best thing that's possible.
Yeah.
That's the key element, is that these alternative currencies are actually, for me, they're extremely important, because you have all these experience and they try some new features. If this feature is very good, actually the Bitcoin community will try to integrate this, could try to integrate this feature or do it in a way where you can use that.
What were you saying yesterday about the testing phase? The testing of it all with the ESA. It's a research area, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Okay, sorry, we have to finish, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to Kiev. You are great, guys. I'm a big fan of what you're doing in this business. Thank you, everybody. And please, you will find the guys on the conference, on the room. So please come, ask any question. We will be very happy to answer and help you in Bitcoin. Thank you.
Thank you.